Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Doug, along with Brad.
Hello,
And this week we were sent a code for Red Faction Re-Mars-Tered edition.
Red Faction Guerrilla Re-Mars-Tered, which just sounds it.
It sounds like
It's
Mars
neat.
turd.
Yeah, it's neat in print. Not so much trying to say
It sounds like a poop on the surface of Mars. So the Re-Mars-Tered,
it.
so the Re-Mars-Tered edition, which is, I guess the game is published by THQ Nordic, but I don't think it was the original publisher. Maybe just the original THQ game, and I believe the original game was made by Volition, which I
Yeah,
know you're actually a fan of because you like the Saints Row games, right?
I do. And well, I like. I didn't get into Saints Row 1 or 2, but Saints Row 3 and 4 I really liked, and this was actually the game they did right before Saints Row 3,
Hmm.
which you can definitely feel when you play it. It plays a lot like Saints Row, like a really lot like Saints Row.
Oh, okay. Oh, I did. I actually never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it really it is a very science fiction heavy Saints Row.
No, so I guess on that point, so if we're looking from the lens of like a Saints Row, so Saints Row is like an open world game where you can basically go around and just mess around. And I mean that's what I know this game for, but I also know that you're like into stories and stuff.
Yeah,
Does it have like a compelling sci-fi story to go along with the craziness of this?
the overall story is just kind of your normal like we have to revolt and rise up. So basically, the EDF, which is this conglomerate that's running Mars, are
Hmm.
basically just giant assholes. And you
Okay.
decide to go to Red or to Mars just to work in a mine with your brother, and you kind of get roped into being a part of the Red Faction, which going through all the games is basically the resistance movement on Mars is the Red Faction. And then basically as you go through there you're going, okay, then you kind of jump in and help end up leading the people to revolt against the EDF. And that's kind of the basic story. But what I do really really like about this game, and it actually solves one of my issues about open worlds, is I feel like most side stuff in open worlds is not contextualized well, where it's
Okay.
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
go take this car over here, go into this building and shoot these people, and it doesn't really play any role in the story. But what this does really well is every single side mission has a
Yeah.
purpose for the story. So either
Oh, interesting.
you're going to steal a car because it has EDF transmitters in it, and you're going to reuse those later on in the game to kind of figure out their transmission codes, or you're going to rescue people who are members of the Red Faction that the EDF has taken care of, or you've gotten word that the EDF is going to raid this building, so you need to go and protect these colonists from the EDF because the EDF really are just giant assholes. Basically, the most they're space Nazis.
So how? So I guess on that point, that's actually interesting because I know you're not really a fan of side missions in general. So how is that different than other side missions based on? Is there repercussions for doing them, or is
Well,
there just you just like the context they're put
I
in?
like the context, but the way the game works is every area there's 5 or 6 areas that you have to liberate, which is a fairly common thing in most open world games. But I like this one because what it does is it's going, okay, you have to actually do these things to make the people of that area respond well to the Red Faction because you are this
Oh,
underground
okay.
resistance movement. So I feel like in a game like, I don't know, I don't even play enough open world games, like Saints Row, it's just like, oh yeah, our gang took over this area because we did enough bullshit. Whereas this, it feels like, okay, I rescued people in here. I destroyed a couple Red Faction buildings. Like I did or not Red Faction, EDF buildings. Like I
EF
did
buildings,
these
yeah.
things, and now these people are being liberated. So that's why I can progress through this area. So it does feel very much just like any other open world game. There's a bunch of crap to do. Some of it fun, some of it
Yeah.
not fun. But I like the context built around it, which I think does set this game a little bit apart from the others. The overall story is just it's kind of whatever. It's a you're rising up against the space Nazis.
It's a Red Faction because I actually know you've been playing the other Red Faction games like fairly recently. At least dabbled them in like fairly recently as well. I mean, is that always just kind of story like the EDF are the bad guys and there's always sort of small resistance group sort of thing, and that's just kind of
Yeah, that's
standard
kind of
Red
the thing is
Faction?
you're trying to fight against the people who are controlling Mars. I know the next one is like, yay! In the end of this one, like Mars is in a much better place, and then Armageddon, which is the one that comes after this, which I actually haven't played, but I know that's 500 years later. Another corporation has taken control of the mining operations on Mars after
Of course.
after 500 years of free Mars. So I think it's just kind of that. There was one
Yeah.
kind of cool callback in this where you could actually go to one of the original Red Faction facility or mining facilities from the, I don't remember if it was the first or second game, but you actually had to go like into one of these things for a second. It was all bombed out and had clearly like been dilapidated over the years.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, yes, I know well because I actually did play the original Red Faction back when it came out because I just remember like booting on my PC and like that when you could just blow up everything. And I know that now they didn't have the terraforming stuff, but they actually had like the big thing, the big selling point of this game was always the structural destruction, I guess.
Oh
Like you
yeah.
could blow up buildings and stuff like that. So I guess because actually me and you never actually play this. I guess we should both say that. Like me and you never
Yeah.
actually play this before this.
Actually, funny enough, I actually have it sitting on my shelf in my giant backlog of games, and it was one that I got cheap once. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll get around to that someday, and then never did.
I thought you had this game, so I was like, so I'm surprised when you said you.
No, I
played
totally
this for the
bought this
first
because I was
time.
really interested in it for whatever reason. I just never bothered getting around to it, and then it kept getting
Yeah.
pushed further and further back. But yeah, the destruction in this is again one of those. As I think what really does set this game apart is you can blow up everything,
Yeah.
and that is a tactic for everything that you're doing more so than I've seen in a lot of other games. Battlefield does a really good job of this, but I think in terms of like single player gameplay, the destruction in this works better than I've seen in almost any other game because you can take things and go completely different directions. Like there's one mission where you had to go in and assassinate a guy or kill a guy, or I don't remember, maybe it was even rescue a guy. I don't remember. But there's clearly the front door. There's a mountain behind it. And what I did is I just ran around the back, smashed the back of the building with my sledgehammer, grabbed the, yeah, it was a rescue mission, grabbed the person and just ran out the back door. Because I
Oh, that you just created.
just
Oh,
took my
that's cool. Okay.
sledgehammer, smashed down the wall. There we go. Like done. Problem solved. So, and there was another one where it's like, oh yeah, you got to kill these snipers on the roof. And it's like, okay, so I've got my rocket launcher. I'll just blow up the building and boop, down fell the snipers and you win. So you can kind of be a little bit creative with just using the destruction to your advantage.
It actually kind of reminds me of like the Metal Gear Solid games. I feel like a lot of open world games, maybe I don't know if they're like learning from this one or just like the way open world games have sort of trended, where there's like any idea you can have like can work. It's just like you have to have the idea first in order to like actually enact on
Yeah,
it. So I mean, does that so basically what you're saying? It's like oh, kill these snipers. Is it clear? Does it make it? Does it burn every situation though down? Just blow up the building?
a lot of them.
Okay. Is that a
There's a
bad
lot
thing
of
or a
them
good
just
thing, or is that just
because
kind of
a lot of the missions are just in the open world. There's very few like go into this building where the building isn't very clearly just a part of the world. So there's
yeah?
never that
Oh, okay,
like
yeah,
that hesitation of like, oh, I went into this building, now I'm in this building. It's always you're in the open world. You're always doing that. So a lot of the problems can be solved by just hey, go blow up that building.
yeah.
Which again, it does have my open world thing of just by the end of my 10, 15 hours, I'm going, okay, yep, it's an open world game. I've done the same thing a whole bunch. Like I get it.
I was just about to ask. So like, I imagine like the first 3 or 4 hours of that game like pretty fun, but after a while, it just kind of like gets to
Yeah, I think, and that's my issue with most open world games, and I don't play a ton of open world games just because of that. Is I feel like by the time you get to the end, everything's just like, yep, I've done this 100 times. I did this in the main mission. I did this in the side mission. I did this when I was driving around just
yeah.
having fun, and now I'm just doing it again. And it does kind of fall into that a little bit, but the destruction is really cool. I mean, I feel like my first couple times, I try to be really specific with it, and then at one point I just ended up with like a big, heavy, armor-plated vehicle. I was like, oh, but I can just ram this through the building. And sure enough, I just found out like, oh, if I just launch this into the building and then just back up and go forward a whole bunch, I can use my big giant armored truck to just knock the building down that way. So again, it allows for some creativity with the destruction, which I think is really cool. But
Yeah. I guess a quick question on that because I know this is like a PS360 game. Um, actually, the thing that's kind of funny about like the way you've been talking is like I know this is something you still can't do in any other game,
yeah,
like largely. So does it feel like one of those things? Because I think when me and you kind of go back to games, at least my opinion on this is like if you go back to a game that's already been like improved upon in a number of ways, it feels dated. But because nobody's done this before, it hasn't done it since, I guess. Does it still have like a feeling of uniqueness and
the destruction element does a lot of it. Like I said, does feel like Saints Row. Volition definitely stepped up the gameplay by the time you get to Saints Row 4 from this, which would have been 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah.
So the basic gameplay of it, I think, is done much better than some of the Saints Row stuff. But that destruction element and some of those abilities to kind of think about a different way to approach a situation because of that, I think do make it still feel like kind of a fresh idea. It does still feel like isn't something I've done 100 times before. Whereas I think if you took that element out of it, it would be a very just generic, okay, yep, open world game. This was probably really cool 5 or 6 years ago when it came out, but we've seen it done over and over again.
Gotcha. Okay. That's actually it's kind of interesting because actually this game has always been kind of on my radar because I just remember hearing a lot about it when it first came out because of the destruction stuff. So this is a remastered version. So how is the remastering? I guess.
It looks like you would expect. It looks like a PS3 remastered game. It definitely looks a little dated.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, you can tell that it's just they didn't go through and redo everything. It's clearly just okay. We up-res some stuff. We did all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It by no means does look bad, but again, just with the full-on PS4 games that are out now, it looks a little bit behind. But visually it doesn't look too bad. Gameplay, it feels great. I did have some weird like technical stuff, but I don't know if there's a patch coming out for it day one or not. But there were some weird like technical things where I had some slowdown and stuff in terms of just some of the gigantic scenes of destruction, because there are times where you're just leveling building after building after building, and it gets a little bogged down at times. But other than that, it feels fine, looks fine. I mean, if you think of it as a remastered PS3 game, you're kind of getting what you would expect.
You know, I was kind of hoping, just like at the end of this review, you would be like, just like trash this game at the end, being like, boy, this sounds like a real Mars turd. But then that doesn't.
If only we could circle it back and make that full. That's a full circle of that joke, and it just no, it's not quite there.
It would have been a great way to bookend the review and everything. But no, it actually sounds like pretty.
No, it's a pretty solid game. If you haven't given it a shot, it's cheap too. I think it's only $30. So yeah, if you haven't played it before, it's a cool game. Still feels fairly fresh.
All right, we are Workforce Gaming. If you guys like what you heard, you can always follow us at Workforce Gaming on Twitter and subscribe to us whatever you listen to us on. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.